TIGR, what do you think? I'm not familiar with TIGR, but thank you for the pick. Jessica says, looks like the FRA Tilray merger is going to put Tilray in 60. Hey, Kiran. Kiran, can you hear me?
Perfect.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, How are you?
I'm doing great. We're already live. We got 142
All right.
people watching.
Wow,
And
that's a big number.
yeah, and I'm excited to speak with you. It's been a while, and you guys have been busy. And since the last time we talked, the stock has doubled. So congratulations.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite an achievement. Quite an achievement. You know, a lot of people were really nervous about, you know, when we put in the reverse splits. And what I explained to people at the time is, look, we're not doing it to what I call, you know, make the bids disappear in trader speak, but we were doing it just, you know, what we're hearing now, you know, Schumer's saying, you know, full descheduling, you know, it looks like things are moving really fast. And, you know, to get on NASDAQ, you know, people were being cynical and saying, oh, you don't have the market cap. Now we do have the market cap. You know, those reverse splits were really to get the stock price up to where it needed to be, where it's, you know, somewhere between, you know, I'm not a NASDAQ expert, but somewhere between, you know, $3 to $5 US in case we had to do it. You know, because I think it's, you know, and it's just a gut feeling. I think banking reform is going to go through. And I do think that NASDAQ will open up to US plant touching companies within the next 2 years.
Wow, that's huge. Is that why the stock market for cannabis stocks is just going nuts today? Was there any news or is there any specific reason? Because
you know, I don't, you know, we're really sort of laser focused on our two markets in the US, which are California and Oregon. And, you know, both those markets, even despite what I would call draconian lockdowns, which are now loosening in Los Angeles and in San Francisco, there just seems to be a general shift of people when they're sitting at home stewing, wanting to smoke a joint rather than drink a beer, you know, and you're just seeing those statistics. And, you know, and marijuana in general is a medicine, while, you know, alcohol, you know, looking at it from a recreational point of view is really a depressant. It's a, you know, causes liver cirrhosis, it causes all sorts of problems. So, you know, I'm glad to see that. Now, you know, eventually psilocybin's on the horizon.
Yes.
You know, and that's, I mean, and that's going to be, you know, another big component. And we're really seeing some great liberalization. And I'm sure Rand Paul Sr., Rand Paul Jr., the Republican senator from Kentucky's father, is probably smiling, you know, really smiling, you know, and to say that, and I'm sure Rand Paul Jr. himself is quite supportive of everything that's going on.
Are you guys getting into psilocybin? Are you guys getting into psychedelics?
Well, yeah, definitely. We're definitely going to do that. And that is, all right. So Oregon is going to be the first market for medical use of psilocybin, right? So it's the first market that's legalized. The laws are being promulgated this year, and by next year, it's going to be open. You know, clinics will start opening. Our roots are in manufacturing, and because our roots are in manufacturing, we're going to be there in their manufacturing. And we announced a joint venture LOI. We're going to be formalizing into a company and everything with Red Light Holland, CSCTRIP. Great company. I mean, Todd's a great operator. And as usual, like what we do is we look for new technologies around mushrooms. And the thing about psilocybin, which is interesting, not to go too deep, is that it's the unpredictability of dosing. So, you know, the old school thing is, you know, what do they say? You know, you put mushrooms in the dark and you feed them a lot of shit. that's always been the saying. But the problem is there's a variability of the natural molecule. And recently I've been speaking to people about who are going to start using bioreactors with antibiotics to, like antibiotics are, to start, manufacturing the natural molecule as you would manufacture antibiotics in bioreactors, which I think is pretty cool. But then an article was recently published in Nature magazine talking about using some of the, RNA technology that's being used with the vaccines to actually start delivering to replicating natural mushrooms that are completely predictable and dosable. So it's really it's a dosability thing. But in the interim,
you guys are so busy, man. Every time I talk to you, got something new. And I'm like reading news, like record revenues and new agreements with 2 additional dispensaries in LA. Like, you got to be one of the busiest guys in the sector, man. Nonstop.
We are busy, but everyone right now is pretty much cashed up. And so the issue right now is really to keep sort of focus. Like when we speak about psilocybin, we're talking about Oregon. That's our market, right? When we talk about new dispensaries, we're talking about California. That's our market. You're not seeing us, and you're seeing us already saying to ourselves, look, we're probably divesting out of Nevada because we got our hands full in California, and that's been a theme, and in Oregon. And so US wise, we're really focused on the states we're in, right? If there are opportunities to maybe JV or do other stuff in other states, we may do it. But they're plane rides away, right? And Arizona, you can see, Cura and Harvest are pretty well entrenched there. Washington, I'd love to do Washington, but there's the residency requirement. I personally am a Washington resident. Yesterday I was visiting with Ryan, the owner of Have a Heart, who sold his dispensaries to Harvest that inevitably went into high times, but he's still the dominant player in Washington state. I know they've been trying to lobby there, and that's the second largest state, I think, the third largest state in the country. They've been really trying to lobby there to loosen that residency requirement, which will enable us public companies to come in, right? But I like that sort of continuity of geography because it's easy to manage and it's easy to move people around. If you start, and I don't know how these MSOs do it. I honestly don't know, hats off to Columbia Care, to GTI, to Cura. I just don't know how they manage such huge portfolios. Granted, we're probably today a $150 million company and they're $2-3 billion company. So, there must be a way, but, I find it definitely in our minds where we really actually have 3 businesses when you look at it. So we have, what we call our manufacturing of dispensary product with distribution to dispensaries in Oregon, where, ourselves in terms of units sold and dollars sold per BDS data is number 1. Number 2 is Wild, which is a tremendous company, but they're only edibles. I mean, hats off to Aaron and what he's done. It's just a remarkable business. And then in California, we're actually looking at it a little bit differently. And we're looking at it that, what we've learned in Oregon is the middle stuff, the manufacturing and the distribution really is what we call cost of capital businesses, and cultivation and dispensing is where you really make a lot of money. So in California, with Bar X, where there's going to be some big news coming hopefully soon, that is, I can't say it's the largest outdoor grow in the state because that's Pro Farms, but I can tell you it's the second largest licensed outdoor grow that I know of in the state, but we're in the Emerald Triangle. I can't tell you that it's the largest greenhouse operation in the state because that's Glasshouse Farms, but I can tell you that it's the second largest greenhouse operation in the state if we get 20 acres up. But I can tell you combined, I don't know of a single cultivation site that's anywhere close to that, right?
Wow.
And so once that going, and with Jed and Joe, and they own a big piece of Connected, and the genetics are, that Alien Labs, some of that genetics is coming out of, the Connected, let's call it the Connected family tree. And you look at the 3 dispensaries we have, and you look at the locations of those dispensaries. If you know LA, I would argue that that's one of the best portfolios in the city of Los Angeles. You're only allowed 3. And now we're aggressively pursuing, West Hollywood. We're aggressively pursuing dispensaries in other places. We have our edibles now. We got our vapes. We got FlowerShop launching with some really unique products. And, I think was it last week or the week before? I can't remember. They start to meld. I spent a whole day with G-Eazy in his house and his new girlfriend, Ashley Monroe. And
I saw the pictures. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. You're hanging out with G-Eazy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I was, I'm not used to, how do you say it? I'm not used to these like photo shoots like he is and stuff. So, he gave me a nice little shot of Henadora 25 Blanco, and we
calm you down a little
nice,
bit.
Yeah, smoked a little nice indoor, and then I learned the ropes a little bit. But no, what's really cool about the Franklin location that we announced, it is literally a mile from his house. His home is right below the Hollywood Hills, and he's active. It's not sort of like, okay, sign a deal with Drake, and is he going to show up in your stores? No, G's really active due to his mother and due to, just being an Oakland guy. It's, he's a real partner, and I really, sort of feel that vibe. And it's, it's a first name basis type partnership. It's not through 10 agents and everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that is so exciting. That's one of the biggest artists in the world, guys. G-Eazy is one of the biggest artists in the world working with Halo Collective. Let's talk about Halo Collective. Today I look at the name and it's no longer Halo Labs, Halo Collective. Why the name change?
Because we started as a lab company in a chicken coop, but now we have dispensaries, we have cultivation. Arguably we run the most trucks now in Oregon, so we're a distributor. We're a pre-roller. I mean, we do almost everything except right now for the hash and the live rosin, but that's coming soon. So we're not really an MSO. We only operate in 2 states, but we operate in multiple countries. So, I don't know, what do you call us? A CSO, or no, a multi-country operator, a MCO. But
a global producer. You're a global producer, right?
Producer. So, and we like the name Collective because we sort of like the throwback to, the old school California collective sort of model, right? Where we're all sort of, Louisa, especially, with her social empowerment stuff and everything is, we want to, a lot of what we're doing overseas is we want to collectively give back, right? Especially especially in Lesotho. I mean, she's a big promulgator of, the whatever she calls them. I forgot the name, but there's a name for it, but the underprivileged, especially, women in villages, and Andreas was, talking. It was really funny. He was telling me, stories about how people, walk miles to come to work, right? From the local villages around to, cultivate. I mean, we're growing. I mean, we are growing. We have tested marijuana in Lesotho. It's not a soccer field in Colombia. It's a real grow. And then I said, Andreas, that sounds really bad that people are walking miles to go to work. And he said, Kiran, there's COVID. We can't put a whole bunch of people on a bus.
Yeah.
I go, that's a good
crazy
point,
Yeah, it's a good
said,
point.
Yeah,
I mean, you got
a point, right? Yeah.
You guys, you guys have been doing
going.
so much. Like, you've also just been reporting record revenue growth. Can you talk a little bit about that and how your bottom line's looking right now?
Well, the right now, I can't talk about how our bottom line is looking, especially with earnings and everything coming out.
Okay.
All I can tell you is that what we've said in our releases is that revenues are growing, gross margins are growing, right?
Good.
But we've had to bring on, some new executives. We brought on Joshua Haddix from Moxie, right? He was the VP of operations there, and he's doing a dynamite job. Moxie is probably the father of the concentrate business.
Wow.
I mean, Jordan is probably the godfather of the concentrate business.
Wow. That's a good
and
hire.
So to bring him on was a great hire. And because remember, Andreas moved overseas. He's living in Lesotho right now. And then we brought on Dustin Jessup, who's running, all our sales in California and Oregon. And we picked him up during the Winberry acquisition. And that Winberry acquisition, overnight doubled us.
Wow.
But when we talk about record revenue growth, and if you look at our charts, we're honest about it. So you see Winberry in there, even though it's pro forma. It's not like, oh, we doubled revenue, right? And people are like, oh, well, that isn't organic. I go, yes, that's true. But even organically, we're growing at 20 to 30%. I mean, that's what you do acquisitions for, right?
If you're growing organically, you're not going to have explosive growth, right? If you grow through acquisition, that's how you grow.
Right.
That's how you have explosive growth. When you do both, but that's when you have a great business.
And that's what we're thriving towards, it's just all hands on deck, it's just a question right now, really, from my perspective in the US, of managing growth. But we should flip to international, because international, whereas COVID has benefited the US, internationally, it's been tough, right? It's been tough. I mean, these lockdowns internationally, in the UK with this new variant and everything, it's been tough, right? So where the US is sort of spinning off cash, international, even though I think new cannabis ventures and everyone says it's the future, we're struggling with basic stuff like steel for fences, because there's no steel in South Africa to bring into Lesotho, right? But we still keep going, right? We still work within, we have permission from the local authorities and the police to operate. We're operating, we're expanding. We're looking at, finally getting those 1 hectare, greenhouses up. We got our strains propagating. I think we're on our 3rd harvest there, and there's a saying I have about Halo that I've been thinking about a lot recently, and it's called intrinsic value. And so I think Halo really trades on, when I look at it, being a former banker, having worked at Merrill and paid my dues at Wharton for a couple of years. I don't think our international assets are getting the intrinsic value they really deserve. So as a board, we've been looking at, what do we do to, and we have some pretty good international assets, and we have a very good partner with MedCan in Malta. And what do we do to sort of put those in a seed to sale line, right? Because we have, if you look at it conceptually with our partner MedCan, we have a massive grow in Lesotho. I could argue like other companies have and say it's the largest in the grow and largest potential grow in the world, but it probably isn't. It's probably one of the larger, grows and, right, in the world, or the potential to be. But you have that, and then you have what I call some really good genetics there, like good, it's sort of like probably what happened with Bordeaux and Napa, when you had all those great strains that came from Bordeaux to Napa in the day, right? So we've taken now, let's call it the California bougie strains and all of that, and sent them off to Lesotho, sort of like they have Stellenbosch wine in South Africa. So we're gonna, it's gonna be defined as its own area over the next couple of years. Then through MedCan, if we can ever get through these COVID lockdowns, right? Then we can export our GACP product there. They have a GMP facility. They can make it into oil there. I mean, we have a great partner there. And then inevitably we can distribute it from there throughout the world, right? And a lot of people say, well, why aren't you making oil in Africa? I'm saying, listen, you know, to be quite frank, it's hard enough to grow in Africa right now, and it's hard enough to find steel. You know, let's make the oil in Europe. And, you know, because right now, when you look at this international market, really, it's sort of where Canada was maybe 5 years ago, right? So you got flour, right? And then you got, you know, tinctures, olive oil based tinctures, right? So, and the tinctures are starting to grow, right? Obviously, you know, probably in the black market, you got everything, but the white market, the medicinal market's really those two products, and it's just going to grow from there. And then, you know, now we've had Brexit, so CanMart, in my mind, becomes more valuable in and of itself, because you're not, you know, if you have MedCan as a partner who can do Europe and the rest of the world, CanMart that can do the UK, and I'm not, listen, I'm not comparing my business or our business in any way to GW Pharma, but I mean, that's $7 billion price tag. Wow.
Crazy.
Wow.
It made the
that
stock
was
double.
Stunning, huh, man? But they're like, I mean, you know, they're down in San Diego, and I've had a drink with one or two of them, but
Oh, nice.
man, it just shows you what the potential is, you know, it's
Totally.
the potential of genetics, potential of, you know, just the potential of some of these medicines and what you can do really, you know, in the future, right? And I think you're going to see a lot of that in psilocybin, because psilocybin needs, precision, it needs modulation, it needs dosing. Psilocybin's really, it's really pharma in the end of the day, right? Where marijuana is marijuana, it's an herb, something we smoke all the time. Or psilocybin, you know, you take one microdose and you feel nothing. You take your second microdose and you're flying, because the amount of psilocybin in that, you know, in that capsule is, you know, even though it's the same mushroom, right? Grind just the amount of psilocybin in that part of that head of that mushroom, right, was substantially more. Sure, people have a bunch of questions, huh? I'm sure you're probably
there's a lot of questions coming. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of interest, but you've kind of talked about everything, and you've kind of answered most of the questions. I don't really see any new questions coming right now. If there was one thing you'd want to let investors know about Halo Collective now, moving forward in 2021, what would it be?
So remember how in 2020, I kept telling everyone balance sheet, right?
Yes.
And, you know, we had some positive EBITDA. In the fourth quarter, we may have some positive EBITDA, definitely really improved gross margins, right? With the Winberry numbers coming in January, this Q1 is, you know, I'm expecting it to be a really good first quarter, right?
Great.
Really strong first quarter. I mean, in terms of all metrics. And as you can see, we consistently put out our numbers. I owe everyone a BDS release in the next day or two, good, bad, or wherever it's at. You know, I report where we stand in the BDS data every month. So December will be coming out in the next day or two. So what I want to say is that we're shifting from balance sheet, now that our balance sheet is really strong, to income statement, right? So now you're going to start to see, you know, and I'll tell you, it's damn hard with 280E in the US, the tax, to get PAT, profit after tax, right? But, you know, I'm really going to strive by Q2 to go into PBT, which is profit before tax. And that's really what the goal is to sort of shift the mentality now that, you know, we survived the vape crisis and we survived, you know, the markets being down. Now the markets have overheated. You know, we did a bot deal in a day or two. I was really nervous about that, right? When we did that bought deal with 8 Capital, and then, you know, Canaccord, God bless them, stepped in and helped out, and PI, you know, Blake Corbett, he was there. And, you know, we did that deal overnight, and I was really nervous. And I'll tell you why I was really nervous. And again, putting on my sort of trader hat, we sold a unit at 9 cents. So basically you got one share at 9 cents, and then you got a full warrant at 12 cents. So what would a typical, and this was all sold mostly to institutions. So what's an institution going to do? They're going to sell the share at 9 cents, right? And they're going to keep the warrant at 12, right?
Yeah.
And they get the warrant at 12 for nothing. The warrant's going to list by Friday. I'm listing it as fast as I can, so it causes no overhang to the stock, right?
Great.
And so I was really, if you saw the stock, it was trading like massive volume at between 9 and 10. And I was really nervous about it breaking out, because all of a sudden you have 8 million, let's say the full shoes exercise, you have 10 million of 9 cent units where everyone wants to blow out. You know, if anyone is smart and they're a trader, they're going to sell their stock. If they could sell their stock at 10 cents, get a warrant for free at 12 cents. I mean, that's the deal of a century. We list the warrant, it black, you know, I may be speaking Swahili to some people. You Black Scholes out the warrant's going to come out at 3 cents with the stock at 11 cents. So all of a sudden, you know, then you can sell the warrant, let's say at 3 to 4 cents. All of a sudden, in a week, you spent 9 cents, you made 14 cents, right? So if you're an institution, you know, you gotta, I mean, the IRR is off the charts, right? So I was a little nervous about that, and I'm happy that you know, that we've sort of what I call ate through that, right? So what I'm saying is the warrant being listed, the 12-cent warrant being listed, just from a chart perspective, right? Obviously, we're locked up, you know, because of the offering, and because of us coming so close to the numbers, you know, numbers reporting. I was happy to see the stock today break out to 11, right? Because I think now that sort of overhang from that bought deal is out of the way. Now, I don't see any headwind, right? When I look at the stock, I'm not seeing that headwind that I was nervous about 3 or 4 days ago. So I'm kind of relieved.
Well, the timing is good too, because like the whole cannabis sector is exploding. So the timing was perfect, because you're not the only stock that's done well. The entire cannabis sector is doing well, and hopefully it continues to go in this direction. And then we'll see Halo go even higher.
Yeah, but you know, but I think, you know, and I try not to compare myself to or compare the company to others, but I would say that as a board, I think we're pleased that, you know, we had a stock that was trading at 5 cents, let's say, well, maybe 30 days ago. We got a bought deal done at 9 cents with a full warrant at 12, and we got a stock at 11 3 days after the deal closes, and everyone has their stock in their hands. And I think today we traded in the US, I don't know, maybe I would guess 8 to 10 million shares, HCANF, you can look. And then we traded in Germany, I think 30 million shares.
Wow.
And on the NEO, I have no idea. I could look it up, maybe 10 to 12 million shares, right?
Great.
But we're, you know, but yeah, in terms of, that's the other thing that's really, you know, that's really good about, you know, I think our stock is that I was looking at a Stoic report, and in terms of number of shares, granted, our stock was at 5 cents, but it's still at 11 cents. In terms of number of shares traded per day on a global basis, we're the number one, or we were the number one traded cannabis stock. And we're in the top 15 or 20 worldwide, just in terms of dollar volume on a daily basis or something like that.
Wow, that's impressive.
So, and that was an independent report. Yeah. So, I mean, the stock trades, and, you know, we put out news, whether it's good or bad, and, you know, try to just keep trying to grow the company, you know, and get some sleep in between.
One thing I've always said to everyone, I said, even when the stock was at 5 cents, I said, regardless of the stock, I love the business. I've always loved the business, regardless of the stock. Now, for those of people that got in at 5 cents and got a chance to double their money, now not only are you buying a business that I think is very undervalued, but now you're getting a chance to make some upside on the stock. It's one of those situations where, I've been around this industry for so long, and what's more important, a high share price or a stock that's liquid? The reality is a stock that's liquid. I mean, you can go to any broker and they're going to say, what's your trading volume? You could have a share price at $8, and if it doesn't trade, no one's going to be interested. Or you could have a stock at 5 cents, and if it trades millions of shares, like you're saying, with lots of liquidity, you're going to be able to do a bought deal financing in 24 hours. It's the liquidity that's more valuable as long as you've got the underlying equity within the business and the value to sustain it. That's what matters, is the liquidity, not necessarily the price. And then over time, typically what we see, doing this for years, I've seen that over time, good companies always go up. Over time, good companies almost always go up. And we're seeing that in the cannabis sector as a whole now, where we had this huge push in 2017, 2018, like everyone made a killing. Then from 2018 to 2020, we had this happen, especially in Canada. And now it's going back up again. And everyone's getting excited about it again. And everyone's throwing money at it again. And you see GW Pharma doing a $7 billion deal. This is a sign of, once again, the sector is becoming.
And the stock was trading at $1 billion a year ago, right? Remember? Just look at that.
I know.
Okay, and and then one stock I'd like to point out, and this is one point I haven't covered, and I should cover it, is that the dispensaries we're buying from High Tide, we'll hopefully have it done in the next month. It's just been a COVID thing with the AGLC. The AGLC has to be the hardest agency I have ever dealt with in terms of, we get fingerprinted and we get interviewed in every jurisdiction. The AGLC is like required, like I'm single, but like Louisa's husband's tax returns for 3 years. So during COVID. So the reason that deal has been delayed is really, the AGLC is in COVID mode, even though it's Alberta, which is, let's say, in less COVID mode than other places. But that deal's going to happen. And I have I couldn't, I think Raj Grover to me is like a brother, right? And the way High Tide has performed and the way he's executed is it's just something to learn from. It's just remarkable, right? I mean, we got a 10x on that stock, right?
They did the Meta acquisition, and the stock's gone from like 14 cents to $1. Our entire community is actually involved in High Tide, and everyone's been killing. It's been extreme.
Have you had Raj on?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I'm good. I'll talk. I'm going to WhatsApp him afterwards and tell him he should come on.
I think he's a little bit shy. Like, we've talked about High Tide. We've worked with High Tide.
Tremendous.
I've never had him on our show because I think he is a little bit shy of the camera, a little bit.
Right. So let me tell you what I'm thinking. So he has a whole bunch of other dispensaries he's going to have to sort of, I think, shed. And then I've been speaking to some guys who operate dispensaries in BC, and sort of this thought's been coming through my head with this. And I think there's an opportunity if we can sort of like, we got California and Oregon, and then everyone said, what are you doing with these 3 dispensaries in Canada? Well, to me, Canada next to California is the second largest market in North America, right? Okay. And there's a lot of, how do I put it? There was a lot of money put into Canada. And I'm starting to see now what I call a lot of sort of classic PE plays, right? Like with Raj, he's sort of doing a seller lease back. So he's saying, look, I'll take care of the stores for a while. You guys learn the business, and then you guys can start building your own chain, and you have Kush Bar, which is a good name. And so I've been thinking to myself, and it's just sort of initial thoughts, we have these great brands. We have Skittles, we have FlowerShop, we have Hush, as a value brand. And these brands are starting to get recognition, substantial recognition, right? And if G-Eazy's pushing FlowerShop, and I mean, Skittles is just Skittles. I mean, everyone knows it and follows it. And, I mean, the nose on that stuff is just amazing. And so now I've been thinking, okay, now let's work with an LP, maybe 1 or 2 LPs. Let's get our products listed. We'll have a couple of dispensaries, and let's slowly sort of build our own little Canadian ecosystem, with our products as we get them listed, with a smaller LP, right? And slowly build sort of, our own little quality ecosystem like we're doing in LA, right? I think there's if there's another sort of opportunity, it's in Canada.
I agree with you. I mean,
yeah,
people here love their cannabis. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
They love their cannabis, and they love cannabis products. They love cannabis 2.0 products. And I think this is a huge market. And I think there was a lot of mistakes made. And like you said, there's a lot of opportunity now because everything was hugely undervalued. It got to the point where it was almost ridiculous when you saw High Tide at 14 cents, right? Now you see them a month later at $1.
Yeah.
I mean, they just
great.
7x'd in a month. They're not the only one.
And that's, there are a few who've done that, but yeah, definitely. And and now with this sort of what I call this overhang from the spot deal behind us, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really comfortable and really confident about where we're at and where we're headed,
Good. I mean, we've gone through pretty much all the questions. There's really no questions left from the members. You've pretty much broke everything down. It's been a pretty detailed video. Is there anything else you want to discuss before we say goodbye?
Well, not much. I mean, thanks for having me. And, thank you for, supporting us, when we were at 3 cents, 4 cents, and, really having the view, I put in, you gave me some advice on that preferred shelf. I put in that preferred shelf now.
Great.
I did everything, you've given some good advice too, Rich. I mean, we put in that whole shelf there. We did everything, when you told me to do that. It costed an arm and a leg. It was a real pain, but we did it,
But now you have an equity instrument that you can utilize to go acquire your growth.
That's right. And that was really smart, and I love, everyone who hits me up on Twitter. Shareholders hit me up all the time on, email, and I try to get to everybody. I mean, sometimes I can't. I mean, just while we are sitting here, I'm seeing my emails at 128, seeing my Twitter at, I think 20 right now. I try to clear it, but, we try to give everyone, try to be as fully transparent as we can and make sure everyone has equal information.
I think you've done a great job, Kiran. I'm so proud of you guys, and I'm so happy that you guys are turning the corner. And I really believe that this is going to be one of those undervalued, underappreciated, underexposed stories. Last time we talked, you talked about NASDAQ. I got really excited about that. At the time, I believe the stock was at 5 cents. Now we're, double that. So the stock has already doubled since the last time you were on the show. And hopefully each and every time we do this, we'll consistently see some price appreciation that we can talk about. That would be great. That would be nice.
It would be great. Yeah. Right now we're at 11. Let's say we're at 11 now. Let's say that next target at 22. Where there's a will, there's a way, and just got to keep focused and find it.
And that's one of the things that we really take pride in here at Rich TV Live is we're not just a YouTuber that's just trying to talk about companies. We want to get on the inside and speak with the CEOs and get a chance to do these types of things where you can just kind of talk about everything that's going on. And then shareholders can really get a chance to see what's going on behind the scenes, behind the symbols, behind the press releases. That's the whole concept behind our platform is we want to be more than just a platform that gives you a pick and a symbol and breaks the news. We want to be able to speak to the CEOs like this and answer the questions and have those tough questions answered. And you've been amazing in the sense that you've really never shied away from answering anything. And I think I think that that shows why you guys have been able to succeed in a very, very difficult time going through, like you said, the vape crisis, the COVID-19 crisis, and the cannabis crash. And you've come out the other side and you're really looking strong. And we talked about this when everyone else was selling, you were buying. When everyone else was going bankrupt or selling off assets to other larger LPs and MSOs, you guys were buyers. You guys were acquiring your growth. You were acquiring assets. And that's a smart way to do it. Acquire growth, buy low, obviously gain assets, gain value, gain market share, and build a real business. And it's something I've always said to everyone. I said, despite the share price, Halo has a real business. G-Eazy wouldn't be working with Halo if you didn't believe that they had a real business. And partnerships like that is really what I believe is going to separate you guys from a lot of other companies, because I think that's a great partnership with a global musician who's known all over the world and has a massive, massive brand. And I really like that move. Yeah. And I like a lot of the moves you guys have been making.
Well, I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on.
Hey, always a pleasure. Kiran Sidhu, the CEO of Halo Collective, HALO in Canada, AGEEF in America. If you guys like this video.
It's a new symbol in America.
Oh.
It's HCANF. So H as in happy, C as in Charlie, A as in alpha, N as in Nancy, and F for foreign.
There we go. So now we have a new symbol in America as well. So always changing, always evolving, always adapting. Thank you so much for joining us. And guys, remember, Rich TV Live is strictly for education and entertainment purposes. Always do your due diligence. Always do your research before you invest in anything that we talk about here on Rich TV Live. Speak to a financial advisor. Get their opinion before you make any investments. If you like the video, smash the like button, comment down below, share the video everywhere, and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Kiran, thank you for your time today. Keep up the great work and hope to have you on the show again soon.
All right. Thanks, Rich. Take care.
Thank you, Kiran. Thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day, everybody.